friends. I'm your host, Erin Port, and welcome to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Life can be overwhelming and busy, so once a week, I invite you to join me, and together we will make simple tweaks to uncomplicate the hard parts of our life so we can spend more time doing what we love. Welcome back to the Simple Purposeful Living podcast. Today, I am so excited to have Lindsay Parks join us. My friend Heather actually shared her in her stories, and when Heather shares something, I know it's worth a follow, and I'm so glad because Lindsay has been a breath of fresh air on an internet which feels fairly disingenuous most days. She's authentic, real, and just a joy and a delight to follow. Her kids are slightly ahead of mine in ages, 19 to 11, but the same age gap of 8 years, and I love following her because I feel like I get to have a hint of what's next and what's to come. One of the reasons I wanted to have Lindsay on the podcast is because I know so many of my listeners are in the thick of motherhood right now, feeling stretched thin, and I think you, Lindsay, offer such a relatable and encouraging perspective. I love how you share about faith and family life and motherhood in a way that feels real and doable, without the pressure to be perfect. I know my listeners are going to walk away feeling encouraged and reminded they're not alone. So welcome to the show, Lindsay.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I know and love you, but for those that may not know you yet, can you share a little bit about who you are, your family, your podcast, Built for More, and what you're passionate about sharing online?
Absolutely. Yeah. So my name is Lindsay, and my husband Eric and I, we have 5 kids, and we have a 19-year-old, and then a 17-year-old, a 13, almost 14-year-old, and then our twins are 11. They're almost 12. And we just have one girl. It's boy-girl twins. And so we live in East Tennessee, and I am on social media with, I have an account for when we built our house, the house the Parks built. That is my main social media account, and just following along with that with our family and our build. And then we recently started a podcast, Eric and I did, and it's called the Built for More podcast with Eric and Lindsay. So it's been really cool to see just the ways that God has been moving in that area for us and for our family. So it's been really fun.
And for my listeners, just today you shared an announcement online that God has actually called you to sell your dream house. Do you want to share just a
Yeah.
snippet of that story?
Yeah. So it's been a couple months in the works, but we just shared it yesterday, and our house just went on the market yesterday. But we built in May. We moved in May 2022, and we loved building. We loved this property. We loved everything about it. It was just one of those things that we really enjoyed, and we hope to build someday soon. After maybe a few years. But we started feeling like the Lord was calling us to financial freedom. And it wasn't a move out of desperation or out of not being able to afford our bills, which I know some will probably think that. It was more of obedience to what God was calling us to. And that was hard. It was hard for me. It was a little easier for Eric. Because this is where we thought we would be forever. And the more we prayed about it, the more we both came on the same page. And we knew that this was really what we were going to do. And God has been in every step. And it's just been so sweet to see how he's been working everything out. So we'll see.
I love it. And I will put the podcast that you shared today in the show notes. I shared it with some friends. I think it's such an encouragement. If God is pulling on something on your heart, I shared before we started recording that your story reminds me of our adoption story and how God placed on my heart before Scott's to adopt, and how God worked together to bring us in unity and ultimately lead us to adoption, which was the best thing ever. But in the middle of the story, it can be really
Yeah.
scary. Like, God, what is this?
Yeah.
This wasn't in our original plan, right? We had 3 biological children. People
Right.
thought we were crazy. Like, why are you adopting a fourth? You already have 3. I'm sure you're getting some of those same things. Like, why are you doing this? But your story and your podcast is such an encouragement. So I will put that in the show
Thank
notes.
you.
Okay, so
Thank you.
speaking of kids, 5 kids, I'm going to give this to my sister to listen to because she's at the stage of 18-month-old twins. You were there a while ago.
Oh,
Yeah, right? Like she's tired.
oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, for
But you
sure.
you have college age down to twins that are 11.
Mhm.
And a question I often get as a mom of 4 is how do you invest in your family as a whole while also making sure each child feels seen and valued as an individual? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. That is a big challenge when you have, especially such a wide age range, because your oldest kids are not going to be interested in
Mhm.
the same things that your younger kids are. But we've really tried over the years to do a lot of things as a family. And for us, travel is one of our favorite things to do as a family. And we've really tried to protect that time. Up until recently, we don't take friends or girlfriends on trips with us because it's such a sacred time for our family. But as far as individual, you really have to make, in what's the word I'm looking for? Um, you have to be intentional
Mhm.
about time with just one kid when you have so many and just all the things that come with having 5 kids, all the activities and everything. One thing that we've always done with them is a 13th birthday trip.
Mm.
So when they turn 13 or a little bit before, they get to pick somewhere where they want to go with just mom and dad. And that is something they've all looked forward to and just really enjoyed. But also just here at home, I remember somebody saying one time, anytime you go somewhere,
Yes.
like you by yourself or dad by himself, ask a kid to come with you. Even if it's just to Target, which my daughter is always the one that wants to go with me to Target, obviously. But if it's just a grocery store or, when my older boys are here at home, if they need gas or if they need to go somewhere, I need them to come with me somewhere. I'm like, hey, why don't you come with me and I'll pay for your gas and I'll make them drive so I can sit and they won't be on their phone. They can sit and talk to me.
Mhm.
And that's just been a really, a great thing for us, just little snippets here and there where you try to get time with them individually. It is hard. I will say it is really hard with a larger family to get individual time, but I think it's just those little moments that make a
Mhm.
difference, little small deposits over time.
I do too. My son needed tennis shoes. It's, no, most things you can order online, but you kind of need a foot for a shoe. And so
Yes.
him and I went together, just the two of us. He shops just like most men do. Like I know he finds the shoe, he gets the size. So it's actually pretty quick, but it took, because we live in a small town, 30 minutes both ways. And we had the best conversation in the car. It just totally filled my bucket just to be able to chat with him and hear his heart. And so, even like you said, those little car commutes, those little things, I love the
Mhm.
tiny tweak of having them drive so they can't be on their phone. That is genius.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yes, because when they turn 16, they are gone. I mean,
mhm.
once they have a driver's license and they have a car that they can go, they're gone quite a bit.
And it is crazy how often we do that too, where Scott or I will be going somewhere and we will ask if they want to come along. And 9 times
Mhm.
out of 10, they're like, absolutely, especially when they're by themselves. And we usually will do something like get a little treat or do a little something fun just to make it extra
Yes,
incentive for
exactly.
them to join along.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I love learning from other moms of like how they work out their systems and routines, but 5 kids means a lot of laundry, a lot of dishes, and a lot of schedules. So what have you found
Yeah.
works for your family in sharing responsibilities, getting the kids involved? Have there been tiny tweaks or small systems that have really simplified your home life?
Yeah. So I will say the last two houses that we built, our last two homes, this one and the previous one, um, practical ways is that we had two dishwashers and two washers and dryers for laundry because it was just constant. When we move, we will go back to one set and one dishwasher. So, it'll be a little bit crazier. But what we have done that's worked well is everybody has a day for the dishwasher. And I started it with the oldest down to the youngest. When our oldest was here, still living at home, 5 days of the week during the week, and they each had a day where they would do that. And then they would do just little things around the house. we've gone back and forth about chore charts and, trying to keep up with that. And it was really more pressure on me, I felt like,
Mhm.
and it was hard to maintain. So now that they know, like, if their laundry needs to be done, they're going to have to bring it out and get it done. I'm
Mhm.
not going to be checking their rooms. I'm not going to be, doing laundry last minute unless they have a shirt and they need something, obviously, for something specific last minute. But
Mhm.
so just little things like that. Sometimes we do really great at it, and sometimes it does not go well.
But you're probably course correcting along the way and saying, okay,
Hmm.
I think people think everybody has this magic system that if they just figure it out. But kids and people, we're human. We need
Yeah.
constant reminders. So do you have your kids do their own laundry or they just bring it up and then you
Mhm.
do it? How does that work?
Our kids started doing their own laundry, like actually figuring out the washer and dryer when they were about 12 or 13.
Okay.
Um, and they do still, like, if they're like my oldest is at college, but our 17-year-old, he works a lot. And so sometimes he'll say, can you please just start this? And so,
Mhm.
you know, I'll get it started for him. And then if somebody else needs to come and do laundry, I'll move it along.
Mhm.
But they do come and they help and they figure out how to do it and how to turn the washer on. And that's probably one thing that I know for sure my kids will know how to do when they leave the
Mhm.
house.
Mhm.
Because some kids just don't. And sometimes it is easier to do everything for them because
Mhm.
we can do it faster as moms.
Mhm.
But I don't know if that doesn't teach them anything. So
Mhm.
we're learning. We're trying to get it down pat so that everybody can get it finished and do it in a timely fashion. But
I
sometimes, yeah,
I think as a mom myself, our kids do their laundry too, but I fought this guilt of like, well, everybody else is doing their kids' laundry and I'm the only one that has farmed it out. And you have a little bit
yeah.
of that mom guilt. Have you ever felt that way?
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. Because I think there are two extremes. One's that their kids do everything by themselves and they're very independent. And I think there are pros and cons to both. And then
Hmm.
moms that do everything for them because it's almost like you want to provide for them, you want to do things for them, but sometimes that harms them in the future because they don't know how to do anything. So I think there's a fine balance of maybe doing both.
I think that's such a good point. And I always tell people there is a little bit of onboarding, right? Like explaining how things work. Like you said, you talked about having to learn how to use the washer and the dryer. But I always talk about like when you have a new employee at work, that it sometimes is more work in the beginning because you're bringing them on board
Yeah.
and teaching them all the things. But ultimately, over time, it means less work for you. And so I always just tell people, I'm like the short term pain is long term gain, and like you said, we're arming them with these life skills that they need to know when they go off and on their own, right? We're not just raising kids, we're raising
Yeah.
future adults.
So true. Yes, that's so good.
Okay, so I know you have a great support system, lots of local friends, but for a lot of my listeners, they feel really lonely. They don't have that community, and it can feel really isolating. So, how have you made intentional space for community and friendship in your life? And what practical tweaks would you encourage other moms to build a support system?
Hmm. So, excuse me. I will talk to a few different areas, like
Mm,
where different seasons where we've lived. Early on, when we lived in Birmingham, Alabama, for 1 year, we knew nobody, and my husband was in training, and we had a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old, and I knew we were only going to be there for a year, and so it was kind of like this mentality of I don't really want to invest a whole lot in friendships because I don't want to be sad when we leave.
mm,
But I still needed community. And so there was a girl that had same age kids across the street from me. We got to know each other and we became that for each other where, if she needed childcare, I would help out with that. Or
mm,
if I needed to go to a doctor's appointment, she would help out. And then we also started cooking for each other. One night a week, I would cook double my recipe and then give her the other half, and then she would do the same for me the next week. So that was really sweet. I think sometimes you just have to reach out first.
mm,
Sometimes people won't reach out, and you have to be the person to do that. But in this season now, where we are very busy with kids' sports, and a lot of times we just want to come home and relax and just
mhm,
sleep because we're so tired. Um, it is much more being intentional about reaching out to those friends that I want to keep in contact with And so several of my good friends live out of town. And so we do a FaceTime call,
Mhm.
not very often, maybe a couple of months, where we just catch up on FaceTime. And sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours.
Mm.
So that one way. Another thing that has really helped to me, I have to write everything down. If I don't write it down, it's not on my calendar, I'm not going to remember. And
Mhm.
so even if it's just once a week, call my friend, even call my grandmother, like
Mhm.
things that I want to make sure that I remember because those little things mean a lot to people.
Mhm.
But a lot of times my schedule is so crazy and so busy that it can easily slip my mind, you
Mhm.
know? And one other thing I wanted to share, I joined a group called Rally about a year ago, and it's an online group of Christian women entrepreneurs. And I went to a retreat. I think I've been to one retreat and then I've seen a couple of them in person. And I'm going to another retreat in October. That has been such a gift to me because there are not many people in my area that
Mhm.
are in social media and podcasting. And so being able to get together with these other like minded women that love Jesus that can give me ideas and help bounce things off, like it has just been so incredibly valuable that I really have enjoyed that. And we've become good friends now through that.
And I think it sometimes just takes a little bit of, I'm sure you had to flex your fear muscle a little bit and say, okay, I'm going to try this, right? And going in, and if you're watching online,
Yeah.
Lindsay's face is like, absolutely.
Oh
Um,
my goodness. Yes.
but it does take this level of like flexing our fear muscle and putting ourselves out there. But I always say, as a woman and as a mom, I want to go first to show my kids what's possible. And so when I feel
Mm-hmm.
scared, I'm like, okay, but what would I tell my kids? Flex their fear muscle, right?
So true. Yes. So true. Yeah.
And I love what you said about putting it on the calendar. I have that same in this season of life. I have to schedule things out. I have to schedule friend time out because if I don't put it on the calendar, it's not going to happen because something else will
Mm-hmm.
eat up that time. It just time, is it will poof be gone.
Oh yeah. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, I went to a retreat that I knew nobody in Alabama. Like I drove 6 hours. I stayed in a bunk room with women that had never met before. And once I got there, I was the oldest one there. So it definitely was out of my comfort zone, but it was the sweetest weekend. And just these girls, they all love Jesus. And it was just I felt really proud of myself for actually putting myself out there and doing
Mm,
something that felt really weird and hard for me.
mm,
Um, but it was just a really sweet time.
I love that. Okay, so speaking of connecting, another piece with busy lives and kids is connecting with our husbands, right? Like date nights and all of those things
Hmm.
are just harder to come by, right? I got teenagers on my house on Fridays and Saturday nights, or they have things to do and they can't watch their siblings. So, how have
Yes.
you and your husband stayed connected and made space for making marriage a priority in this season?
Yeah. So once my husband was out of training, right about 2010. So he's a physician, and we went through years of medical school and residency and training. And so during a lot of that time, it was you pick up the free chips and queso and you bring it home and have a date night at home. I mean, it was definitely very low key after the kids go to bed. Now we are very intentional about taking one trip a year, just the two of us.
Mm.
And we do have family and one friend that has helped out over the years, when our kids were little. And it's easier now because we have drivers and it's just getting everybody to where they need to be,
Mhm.
and making sure the house doesn't burn down.
Yes.
But I think that's our big thing. But then date nights are seasonal for us because we don't want to miss our kids' sports in the evenings. And so sometimes we're really good about it. And sometimes we're like, well, maybe we'll take a walk when we get
Yes.
home, which we do love. We do love going and taking the dogs for a walk, just the two of us. It really helps us to reconnect and talk about, our day and our plans and future plans. But then he also has Wednesdays off. And so we have really tried to protect that day to, if there's anything we need to do around the house, great, but we'll try to go to a coffee shop and just actually sit and talk and being able to catch up and just enjoy being with each other.
I love that. Yes. Scott and I will tend to get a lunch out sometime during the week, a couple of times a month. Like, hey,
Yeah.
tell me what day you have free. Let's put two on the calendar for these dates because lunches just work really well for us. And I
hmm
think walks, there was a big aha I had a couple, I don't know, it's when my kids were little. The
hmm
dates did not have to include food. That I don't know why that was a huge
That's so
aha for
true.
me.
Yes. So
But I
true.
think because when we were dating as teenagers, so often we go out for dinner or we go out and do an activity. But a date really is just this time that you're intentionally
hmm
spending with another person, right? And so walking,
Yeah.
I think we underestimate the power of those little dates in our daily and weekly routine that really do
hmm
impact the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, our walks have made such a difference in just like we so look forward to it. And the
Mhm.
nights that we don't get to go, we're like, oh man, like it does something for your mental health too. I swear it does.
Yes, getting outside, I tell you. Okay, so this is the question I personally wanted to ask you because I'm looking into my future and I'm
Yeah.
realizing that my life is not going to be my schedule for very much longer because I've got a 16-year-old. He's 2 years before he heads out. You have a 19-year-old in college now. So the holidays are right around the corner. And now that your family
Mhm.
has a child in college, how are you navigating the holidays with extended family, your own traditions? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It gets a little squirrely sometimes. So this coming Christmas season will be the first time that he has been living in an apartment.
Mm,
Last year, when he came home during his freshman year, he had to move out of the dorm, so he had to come home for 6 weeks,
mm,
which was an adjustment, but then just a sweet time with him. So I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like. I think he will be home, for Christmas and probably not for New Year's because he is 19.
yep.
But I think for us, a long time ago, when we started having kids, when he was little, we decided that we were going to make sure our own family unit had Christmas at home.
Mm,
And we might travel on Christmas Eve when they were younger. But for Christmas Day, we were going to be home. And that's changed a little bit over the years as far as travel. But we really want our kids to know Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after, like those few days are protected and we're
mm,
going to be home. And my family lives pretty close to us. And so they'll be here if we're here. Sometimes my sisters in law and brothers will come over with their families. Um, and then we'll travel the day after Christmas to see family. And Thanksgiving, we actually alternate every other year with my family versus Eric's family. So, yeah,
I love that. It's just fun to see how other people do it. And was
yeah.
that something that was kind of laid out for you when you joined the marriage, or is that something you kind of set up and like had a conversation with extended family about?
So we got married first.
Okay.
Eric has two brothers, and it's changed a little bit over the years, but uh, the wives, the sisters-in-law, we kind of worked it out so that every year we would go, and it has changed some, but we would spend Thanksgiving with the boys' family and then Christmas with the girls' family, and then we would alternate the next year. We would switch.
Mhm.
Now it's kind of like where everybody gets to spend Christmas at their own house, and then we'll try to get together, after Christmas. Sometimes we celebrate Christmas at Thanksgiving when everybody's in town, because people that live far away, it's hard for them to get in because they want to spend Christmas at their house.
Mhm.
So, what I have learned over the years is that, and my mother in law is so good about saying this, she says, it doesn't matter when we celebrate. We just want to celebrate with you at some point. It doesn't have to be on Christmas Day, it can be a week later,
Mhm.
and she's been so good about that. So, we've kind of just gone with the flow.
My grandparents always had that philosophy. And so that legacy has lived on my
Mhm.
side of the family. And it is kind of nice because there is so much pressure for moms, especially around the
Mhm.
holidays, and trying to make everyone's experiences magical and exciting and making sure everyone
Mhm.
is happy. And that can be a lot. And so being able to say, like, take the pressure off of one thing and saying, the day
Right.
doesn't define when we celebrate, I think is really important and maybe the tweak somebody might need today.
That's very true. Yeah, I think as moms, we want everything to be perfect. And I think
Mhm.
sometimes we have that picture of what it's supposed to look like.
Mhm.
Even if it was that way last year, it may not be the same way this year. And I
Yes.
think sometimes the pressure of that tends to be, it leads into arguments and blow ups. And that has happened in our family for sure on
Mhm.
holidays, when expectations weren't met, which is just hard. But holidays are hard in general, sometimes with family, but we really do try to protect that time with our kids.
I think just even somebody else saying that, I bet somebody's driving around in their car saying, "Oh, it's not just our family," right? Like sometimes just a validation of knowing, okay, it's
Yes.
it's a challenge for everyone. I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing for us is Scott and I getting on the same page of like exactly what you said. Like what matters most? Okay, these
Yeah.
are like this is what we want to do as a family unit, and then be able to communicate that effectively with compassion and gentleness to everybody else,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
expectations, man, I say they're the thief of all joy.
So true. Yes. So true.
Oh,
I know.
right? Sometimes the best holiday things are the ones that you don't plan because there are literally no expectations. And then you try to recreate it and you're like, it wasn't like last year because now you have expectations.
Oh, that is, yes, absolutely. So true.
Okay, so I have some rapid fire questions for you. Speaking of the holidays, what's
Okay.
one family holiday tradition that you have and love?
We started years ago making gingerbread cookies, and it's not like the flat gingerbread cookies. This is like, I get the mix, and this is a tradition that my kids think is ridiculous, but I get the mix from Williams Sonoma. It's like their gingerbread quick bread, and they turn out to be like this thick. And we have a competition of who decorates the best. And it's with my brothers and my sisters-in-law and all the kids. And sometimes my dad will, come in there and make one, but we used to do that on Christmas Eve, but then that got a little too busy with everything else, church, candlelight service and stuff. So now we do it on the 23rd, the night of the 23rd, and it is so much fun. And then because I have social media, we just started putting it on there saying, let people vote. And the kids think that is just so much fun.
We do something similar. We do an ornament showdown. So boys versus girls with the six of us. And
Oh,
we go and we buy all the stuff together at Hobby Lobby. Like we have a budget and we all go to Hobby Lobby or Mike, it
how
used to be Joanne,
fun.
Michael's, whatever. And we
Yeah.
buy all the stuff and then we have 15 minutes to make our best ornament.
Oh
And then
my
we put it on
goodness.
social media. And it's funny because I did it. I found a kit one year in the dollar spot at Target. And again, it's one of those things you just never know what tradition is going to take. And my kids, the next
Yes.
year, I always say, like, what things do you want to do at Christmas time? And they're like, the ornament showdown. I was like, okay. So, but they love
That's
that people
amazing.
vote, and it is very competitive. I always say, if you want to get people to participate, make it a competition. They always want to win.
Oh, so true. Yes.
So I get my dad to participate. I'm like, Dad, it's a competition.
Yeah, exactly. That's
I
the
love that.
best.
Okay, what's a tiny ritual that brings you joy in this current season?
Okay, when I first thought about that, I was like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but my one of my favorite things is a Zoa energy drink every day. It's like one of
Okay.
the things I love. Yeah, it's like Celsius, but it's just a different energy drink. And I drink 1 cup of coffee every morning, and then I have that in the afternoon, and I look forward to it so much every day. But for me, it is making sure that I get up in time to have my quiet time before my kids get up, because if I don't, it never fails. It will not happen because life gets busy. And then I really love working out
Yeah.
3 or 4 times a week if I can. Yeah, it just helps keep me sane.
Do you work out at home or do you go to a gym?
I do work out at home. After COVID, we canceled our membership, and then we have a home gym, and yeah, it's my favorite.
What do you like to do?
So definitely weights. I feel like the older I get, I'm 45. I just turned 45. Weights are so much more important for um, muscle health and strength and your body, and that has definitely been true for me. Not as much cardio. I mean, definitely you want to get in like walks and stuff. And I'm no expert by any means, but um, doing weights a couple times a week, 3 times a week has been so good for me mentally and physically.
I think that was a huge mental switch for me because for years I went to the gym and did group fitness, a lot of cardio classes. Back in the day we did step class and Zumba
Yes.
and all those things, right? But then again,
Yeah.
I'm in my 40s as well, and I switched to doing weights twice a week. I was just telling my trainer the other day, I probably, and I don't say this to boast, but I'm probably in better shape now than I was in my 30s, and I'm only lifting weight twice a week and walking
Yes.
every day. Like, but it's crazy
Right.
how, but I thought in order to work out, it had to be cardio, and that is what and it was
Hmm.
this huge mindset shift of actually weights, and you can still
I
work up a
know.
sweat. I don't know. It's crazy.
I know. Yeah. It's definitely a different than how we were taught, I think, years ago, because I
Hmm.
was the same way. Yeah. I did not see a change in my body after working out for years until I started lifting weights. Hmm.
And it's crazy. Do your kids, so my kids that are in sports, they lift weights. They have a weightlifting class in school. We never had that. So they're learning
Yep.
all of these skills now that I was like, wow, what a gift. I didn't have that when I was a
Yeah.
teenager.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think in the high school, for sure, they have a class during the day. The middle school, I think you can go to like weightlifting after school if you're involved in a sport. But we have really tried to encourage our boys, the ones that are old enough,
Yeah.
to have a healthy lifestyle. And my oldest definitely that his his main focus is health and wellness and weightlifting. And so he's 19 and he lives in an apartment at college. He cooks all of his own food. He's very, I mean, just that's his thing. That's just what he loves. So.
And
Mhm.
then he can come home and cook for all of you.
I mean, I tried to get him to. Yes, he won't even eat what I fix anymore. He comes home and he's like, "Just buy me the list of groceries," and he comes and he makes all of his own meals.
Hey, I'll take
So
it. That's awesome.
I
Okay.
know.
So I ask every guest at the end of each podcast, what's one tiny tweak you've made recently that's either made yourself or your family life feel 100 times easier or lighter?
Yeah, definitely for us, it's meal planning, and I have always done meal planning on Sundays for the week for dinner. But what we changed recently, my kids love a real breakfast
Yep.
for breakfast during the school week, and so I try to do something every single day. But what has helped me not to have to make 5 different or now 4 different breakfasts every day, we did a calendar for the month of August. September was a little crazy with everything going on. But weekly, I would say, this is what I'm making every day. You can either eat this or you can fix something on your own. And that worked so well. And even Sullivan, my twin, my 11-year-old twin boy, he was like, last night, he said, "Can we do that breakfast calendar again?" I said, yes, we will absolutely do that. It just helps keep me on track, make sure I know what's coming, for the next morning. It just helps so much.
Well, and I always tell people sometimes stopping something temporarily reminds you why it matters so much. And rather than shaming
Yeah.
ourselves, like, darn it, I didn't do that thing,
Yeah.
just being curious and aware and saying, actually, that was helpful. Let's pick it back up and try it again. So I think that's such an
Yeah.
encouragement for all of us. Oh, Lindsay, this
Yeah.
was a delight. I'm going to post the
Thank
the
you.
podcast of you sharing your latest news about why you're selling your house. I think it'll be
Mhm.
an encouragement to so many. But for those of my listeners who are ready to engage with you and get more wisdom from you, can you share your social media handle and your podcast? We'll put them in the show notes too.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Right now, my social media account for our house was the house the parks built. That might be changing soon, but I'll keep you updated. And then our podcast is the Built for More podcast. That's the handle, and it's with Lindsay and Eric Parks. So, yeah, thank you.
And for whatever it's worth, I think the house is more than just the physical house, so I think it still fits. But that's just my unsolicited opinion.
You know, that's actually what we started with. We said, and that was our explanation was, yes, it's the house the parks built and it's the actual physical home that we're building and, creating, but it's also our family, like how we are raising and building our family for the future. And so I really did want to keep it, but I think that I may be changing it just for social media purposes.
Okay.
Just, so we'll see.
Okay.
I may
Well, we'll
not.
keep everybody in the loop when it happens. I'll be sure to let them know. But thank you so much,
Yeah.
Lindsay. This was a delight. I love
Thank you,
learning from
Erin.
other moms. I know it'll be an encouragement.
I so appreciate it. Thank you.
If you liked this episode, it would mean so much if you'd share it with a friend or leave a quick rating and review so others can find our show. Until next time, you can find me at Simple Purposeful Living on Instagram and Facebook.